Hi there and welcome to another Elder Scrolls Legends video. My name is Richard, or Moxfire if you want to call me by my game name. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is the third attempt that I've made in recording the beginner basics video because of the fact that unfortunately I've had a couple technical difficulties. But we're giving it another shot. In my previous videos I tried to break everything down really sort of regimentedly. I found it really robotic. It didn't really sound that interesting, not that much fun to watch, so I'm going to try and do it a little bit more freestyle and just go through the cards in sort of a logical format while we play a couple games at the same time. First of all, this is a video that is geared towards beginners, people who are not particularly familiar with collectible card games, digital card games. In general, this is not geared towards intermediate or advanced players, so if you are intermediate or advanced, this content's not specifically designed for you, but you're more than welcome to watch if you're interested in picking up maybe a few small tips that you might have missed. So let's get into the first thing. Let's just take a look quickly at the cards. So we have the cards in the game. These are the cards that you play with. This is what the entire game is based around. So you'll notice a few things that are important about cards. We should look at card anatomy. First of all, top left-hand corner has the Magicka cost. Magicka is the resource in the game that allows you to cast the cards in your hand. You need to have, you get one per turn. Every turn, to a maximum of 12. You can't go over 12 unless if you have cards that allow you to go over 12. Those cards are called ramp cards. And then you basically, the name of the game is try to play cards out on curve, and what that means is playing a 1-drop on 1, a 2-drop on turn 2, a 3-drop on turn 3, preferably in like a perfect curve going all the way up to 9, 10, and hopefully you just win the game. So mana cost is pretty important. Refer interchangeably to mana and Magicka. The actual correct term for the game is Magicka, but I tend to say mana a lot, coming from other game experiences. The other thing you need to know for creatures is this is the attack, this is the defense, it's power and toughness. This is how much damage it does when it attacks another creature. This is how much damage it can take before it dies. Creature that sustains damage continues to keep whatever. Like, okay, let's take a look. A creature that sustains damage. So, for example, let's look at something a little bit bigger. This 5/5 here. If it takes 2 damage, it will be a 3/5 until it is either healed or removed from the board. There are cards that allow you to heal your creatures. They're not too often used in the game, but they definitely exist. So that's the main thing with creatures. There's a couple different kinds of cards. First kind is creatures, so those are the ones that you play onto the board and they attack your opponent or they attack opponent's creatures. The next one that you need to know is actions. Actions are like spells in the game. They do whatever the card text says. So in this instance, this is an Ice Spike. It costs 2 mana. It deals 2 damage to your opponent and draws a card. This card is resolved immediately when you play it. It does whatever the effect is, and then it is discarded and goes into your discard pile, which is important because there are cards that actually interact with your discard pile. So actions are pretty simple. You just play them, they're used, and then they go into the discard. The next type of thing is an item. Items are equipped on creatures. They give the creature whatever the card text buff says. So in this instance, it's a steel sword. It gives a creature +3 attack and 0 defense. There are other weapons that do other types of things. For example, this one will give +1/+1 and give the keyword drain. We'll go over keywords in a little bit. The final kind of card is a support. Supports are ongoing effects that stay static on the board unless if they are removed. There have to be specific cards that remove supports from the game. So you play this card. It does whatever the static effect. In this instance, all red creatures gain +1/+0. Until either it's removed from the board or you win the game. They're pretty simple. People don't tend to play more than a couple of these in their deck because they don't actually create a body, so you won't see like a huge number of them unless there are a couple weird support decks, but nothing really super duper popular or really strong right now. So they're usually good in like 3 or 6 of them in your deck, but not much more than that. So what we'll do is we'll get into a game against the AI, and we're going to go over different abilities that cards have. I've created a deck that's pretty simple, has all of the different abilities in it, so hopefully we'll be able to play them all out as I go through this. But at the beginning of the game, you draw 3 cards from your deck. You get to pick which cards. This is a Mulligan Phase. Mulliganing means you get to pick cards that you want to keep, and you throw the rest of it back, and then you redraw more cards. So the sort of basic rule around mulliganing is you want to keep 1, 2, and 3 drops, preferably 1 and 2 drops more than you want to keep 3 drops. You keep 3 drops if you have extra extra 1 and 2 drops to be able to play it ready. So we're going to throw back the Territorial Viper here. So we redraw. So we have 2 2-drops and a 3-drop. So on turn 1, I'm not able to play anything. We pass the turn. Our opponent has the ring. This is the Ring of Magicka. You see he just used it there. This actually gave him an additional Magicka to play with. It has 3 charges. The player who goes second gets the ring. The main reason why this ring is in the game is because whoever goes first has an advantage because they are able to play a creature before the opponent, and the opponent is spending the rest of the game playing catch-up and often won't be able to. The ring gives you a little extra boost of, we'll use a term called tempo, which means you get to go a little bit faster than you normally would. And it makes up for it. So you get 3 charges of this. You can use 1 charge per turn. It gives you an extra Magicka. In this instance, he used 1 charge of his ring to be able to cast the Rotting Draugr, which is 1 mana, and then also the Skeleton, which is an additional mana, for a total of 2 mana. On my turn, I'm able to play my 2-drop, or I can play either of my 2-drops or my 1-drop. You'll notice the cards glow when you're able to play them. Yeah, they glow when you're able to play them, so you can tell easily what you're able to play. Your Magicka is listed down here. You'll also notice on the play board, this is called the board, this whole area. You'll notice it's divided into a couple different sections. The left and the right section is the field lane. Creatures that are cast into the field lane have no particular effect that happens to them. Creatures that are cast into the other lane on the right-hand side, this is called the shadow lane, they gain cover, and covered creatures cannot be attacked for 1 turn by your creatures, or if you're casting a creature there, your opponent can attack it with their creatures. They can actually be targeted by spells, so if you're coming from Hearthstone, it's similar to cover, but your opponent can still interact with the cards. The other thing to note about the lanes is creatures cannot attack from one lane to the other. These 2 creatures can only attack things in this lane or attack my health directly. My creatures over here can only attack their health directly or creatures that are in this lane. They cannot attack across unless the card specifically says that they can. So the name of the game is to reduce your opponent's health totals to 0. You'll notice my health total has been reduced by 2 now because he's attacked me with the Skeleton and with the Rotting Draugr. My opponent's health total is at 30. When I attack with my cat, he is going to do 2 damage to him, reducing his health total. Whoever reduces the opponent's health total to 0 wins the game. So we're going to talk a little bit about... Yeah, I think that's... Oh, yeah, we'll talk about prophecies in a minute. We'll talk a little bit about different abilities. This creature has an ability called Pilfer, and a Pilfer means bonus effect when this damages the opponent directly. So in this case, it has Pilfer +1/+1. So when I actually manage to connect this creature to my opponent's face, my opponent's health total is called, it's referred to as face in this game, he gains +1/+1. So he did 2 damage to him and then became a 3/3, which you saw the animation for earlier. This will continue to happen every single time I hit him in the face with this creature, until either he removes the creature or he dies. You can also silence it, which removes the ability as well. The next thing we're going to talk about is Guard. So this creature here is Fighter Guild Recruit. It has Prophecy, Guard, and Lethal. Guard, you'll notice, has a golden box around it. This Guard creature basically means that he has to attack this creature before he can attack my health total. He doesn't have a choice, and also before he attacks other creatures. So if I put this Draugr over here, they can't attack this Draugr, and he cannot attack my health total directly. He has to kill this to be able to attack either the Draugr or my health directly. Guard creatures are really good for slowing down your opponents. In this instance, he will not be able to damage me, and this creature trades... it takes 2 creatures of his to be able to get rid of my 1 creature, so it's a net positive for me. Another ability we're going to talk about is called Charge. This giant bat has the ability Charge. Charge means that you can attack the turn that it's played. Normally when you play creatures, you are not able to attack with them immediately. You'll notice last turn I played the Draugr. You cannot actually attack with him. Now that my opponent's turn is passed and it has come back to my turn, he no longer has, in Magic it's called Summoning Sickness. I'm not sure if there's an actual term for it in Elder Scrolls Legend. But now he can attack. So I can attack with him, I can attack with the cat. And because this creature has charge, I'm able to attack with this creature. You'll notice the Pilfer went off on him, so he's 4/4 now instead of a 3/3, so he keeps getting stronger because of his Pilfer effect. The other ability that this giant bat has is called Drain. Drain means that when I attack with this creature, the damage that this creature does, that damage gets also added to my health total. So I'm currently at 28 health. When this creature attacks my opponent, it will reduce my opponent's health by 2 and increase my health by 2. Drain interacts with weapons and buffs on creatures, so if I increase this creature's attack damage, the damage or the amount of drain that I get is directly in relation to that. So if I put, let's say, a 2/2 weapon on it and make it a 4/4, then when it attacks, it does 4 damage, and I heal for 4 damage as well. The other thing that's really important about the game to note, I'm going to say this before I actually attack the opponent because I'm going to break one of his runes. The opponent has 5 runes. You'll notice they correspond to health total. So you start the game at 30. For every 5 damage that you take under 30, you break a rune. What that means is when I attack my opponent, I break the rune, they draw the top card of the deck. Also, you see the drain happen, so now I'm at 30, he's at 24, and he got to draw a card. Now, this is designed as a comeback mechanic for the game for really aggressive strategies, so you don't just lose the game. The more cards you have, the more options you have, so the higher chance you'll have of being able to clear up the board and be able to actually come back from a losing position. So it makes the game actually pretty well balanced. You'll find that even in games where you get steamrolled, there's usually like a couple options for you to try to slow things down and stabilize and make sure that you don't just lose immediately. The other thing to note about runes is that they can trigger cards called Prophecy. I don't have one right now. Oh, yeah, the Daring Cat Purse. This creature has the keyword Prophecy. Prophecy is an ability that when you break a rune, if this is the card that you draw off the top of your deck, you are able to immediately play it on your opponent's turn for 0 cost. So this is super powerful if you wind up having this drawn during a rune break. Again, it's also part of the comeback mechanic. It really helps you gain a lot of advantage when you're in a losing position. So another thing we're going to talk about is going to be Last Gasp. So this creature has Last Gasp. Give a random friendly creature +3/+3. When I attack this creature, it will die, and its Last Gasp effect will resolve. So you'll watch. I attack. It's going to give one of these two guys +3/+3, so now this is a 4/4 instead of a 1/1. Last Gasp abilities, while powerful, are not super duper common in terms of seeing them in competitive play. They do require your creature to die. Generally, you don't want your creatures to die, although there are definitely deck archetypes that are built around them. Another thing that you can do to things is called Transform. Transforming a creature changes a creature from one thing to another thing. In this instance, this Mummify card I have in my hand, which costs 3 mana, transform a creature into a 2/2 Shriveled Mummy, so when I cast it on this 4/4 over here, it's going to reduce its health to 2 and 2, and change the card that it is. So now instead of being a 4/4 Deadly Drug, it is now a Shriveled Mummy, which is a 2/2, so I actually reduce its health total. So we're just going to keep playing, and I'm going to keep talking about different abilities as they come up. The only ones I haven't talked about yet are Breakthrough, Regenerate, and Ward. So this is a guard. So we play this one. Oh, and this is a support. So he's cast the Necromancer's Amulet. When a friendly creature dies, gain +1 health. So this is one of those static effect cards that I was talking about before. These continue to reside on the board unless if I remove them from the board. So we attack and kill that guy. This guy also has Last Gasp as well. I don't really want to trigger his Last Gasp effect, so I'm not going to. So we'll just attack. So this card has the ability Healing. Healing heals your creatures, so it restores their health total from what it previously was, or to what it previously was before they were damaged. So if I heal this creature, it's going to bring him back to 5/5, and then also the card says that it gives +1/+1 as well, so I gained 3 health, and then I get +1/+1. So it's a good time to be using that. Certain creatures are not targetable by opponent spells. Nahegleave is an example of this. Actions, you can't target this with actions, so the only way to remove it is either with an area of effect damage spell or to directly attack it with a creature. Shriveled Mummy. Some more guard. We need to get rid of the creature. Alright, so the lanes have a maximum capacity of 4 creatures. You noticed in that situation I attacked with the giant bat into the Shriveled Mummy. While I could have attacked with a larger creature to be able to not actually lose any creatures, I'm going to be casting this action here called Midnight Sweep, which is going to create a 2/2 Colovian Trooper with guard in each lane. Because there's a maximum capacity in the lane, I cannot actually cast this card and have it... I mean, I can cast the card, but it will not create the 2/2 in this lane because this lane is full. And same thing with this lane. If it had 4 creatures in it, it would also be full as well. An interesting thing to note about that, though, is you can actually overwrite creatures that are in the lane. So in this instance, if I wanted to, I can sacrifice a creature to place a new one in. This does actually trigger last gasp effects, so if I did it over the Hunting Spirit, which is probably what I should have done, it actually would give the last gasp effect. But we're going to keep playing. The primary goal with your creatures is to try and trade efficiently for them. Efficient trading means that you want to kill a creature without having your creature die. In this instance, this 7/7 can kill this 6/2/6 without actually dying. So we will do that. And that is an efficient trade for me. I want this guy to die, but he will actually attack into my 7/2 anyway, so I don't actually have to kill him. I'm going to keep getting my cat bigger. This creature has an interesting ability called Shackle. Shackles are debuffs. Shackle debuffs means that they are not able to use the creature, so when I play my Hunting Spirit, it will trigger the Shackle on it, and that, you see the chains go up. That means next turn when I play, he cannot actually attack with this creature. It has to just stay there. That creature now has a term called Lethal. Lethal's an interesting one because when you attack with this creature, or actually just when this creature does damage in general, if you have a creature that actually does a ping effect where it does 1 damage to something, and it has lethal, even though it doesn't physically swing and attack it, it actually still will kill it. In this instance, when I attack this with the 7/5, it does 3 damage to my Daring Cat Purse, which is less than the health total of my Daring Cat Purse, so it should survive. But because of the word lethal on the Grim Champion, my creature actually just dies. So paying attention to which creatures are lethal and which creatures are not lethal is pretty important.
I live to serve.
Alright, so the Windkeep Spellsword here has an ability called Ward. Ward creates this little bubble around him. This basically means that anytime this creature takes damage, it is reduced to 0 and the ward is spent. So it doesn't matter if it's 1 damage or 100 damage, the ward absorbs it, reduces the damage to 0, and then it is gone. You can use other spells and abilities or other actions and abilities to be able to produce more wards on creatures, but the primary thing is that it actually reduces the damage to 0, which is an interesting thing to note with the interaction between ward and drain. A creature with drain is doing 0 damage to a ward, so none of the drain actually goes through. That's pretty important when you're trying to regain your health totals and you're attacking into something that is warded, so it's definitely something to keep in mind. Okay.
If I fall,
Kill them all. Kill them all.
So this is when a prophecy is triggered. So he drew the card from the top of his deck when I broke that rune. This card had the word prophecy on it, which means he get to play this for free when it's drawn from a rune. So he got to put out the 0/9 wall without having to pay any mana, and he played it on my turn. This is really important because when you're getting attacked and you want to defend, if you have a creature that allows you to defend, you actually will be able to play these prophecy cards and affect the board state on your opponent's turn, which will allow you to like swing things around. So there's certain instances where a prophecy can actually win you the game where you would have previously lost the game. So the last two things the last thing I need to talk about in terms of keywords is the ability Breakthrough. This Night Shadow here has the ability Breakthrough. It's a 6/5, so it does 6 damage to things. Basically, normally when I attack with something, if I attack with, well, let's weaken this first. When I attack with a 5/5 into this 3/2, even though I'm doing 3 additional damage to the 3/2, I don't do any damage to my opponent. The minion actually soaks up the damage. Even though I've done 5 damage to it, the extra 3 damage just gets basically negated into nothing. When your creature has a Breakthrough, it actually doesn't do that. It splashes over the creature and does damage to the opponent. So my opponent has 8 health. I attack with my Breakthrough creature, and I do 3 damage in addition to the 3 damage that I did to the creature that I killed. So that wraps up all of the keywords for... Yeah, that wraps up all the keywords except for the keyword Summon. The only one that we did not go over. Summon basically means that a creature has like a built-in action. Say that this Daring Cat Purse had the ability, this text box under here that says transform a creature into a shriveled mummy. That would be the summon effect of the card. We'll see if we can, I put a couple summon cards in here, so we'll see if we can get it before I totally finish up the video. But that's the basics of all of the different abilities that you're going to find in the game. There is no other things. The only other important thing to note is keywords. There's cards that do reference the word keyword, and say a creature that will give another creature a keyword. Basically what that means is keywords are considered the 6 different attributes of Breakthrough, Charge, Drain, Ward, Lethal, Regenerate, and Guard. And those are the only 6 that will actually interact with the word keyword on certain creatures. I'll make that a little bit more clear in another video. So there we go. So this creature has Summon, destroy a wounded creature. So when I cast, this basically has like a built-in action, whatever the text box says is going to be resolved when I play the creature. So when I play this creature, you'll see I get my little targeting reticle, which means I can select the opponent's creature, destroy enemy creature. Now the summon effect is resolved. Summon effects are always resolved immediately once you play them onto the board. If there's no viable target for them, then they are just the statted creature. So in this case, if I didn't have an enemy, I would just be placing a 5 mana 4/3. So with that being said, we can just win the game and conclude the video. So I'm gonna be posting this just on its own. I was planning on making a full playlist for them, but as I've continued to do it, I think it might be just easier making them one thing at a time. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is more on the ideas of trading, and then also after that I'm going to be doing card reviews of each of the different classes and what kind of archetypes that you can build decks around with the new classes. Another thing I will be doing later on also is I have created a free-to-play account where I've gone through the story mode, so I'm going to do some deck building with the basic cards that you get to see what kinds of options that new players have. So I actually understand what it is, what tools you have available, because I sort of powered through that whole early game on my account now. I think I have a pretty high percentage of the cards. Yeah, I have 82% of the cards collected, so I almost have the entire collection. But this account is not a free-to-play account. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have yourself a great day. I hope if you're getting into this game that this video is helpful. If you haven't had a chance to, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me a lot. You can also catch me streaming on Twitch at Moxfire Gaming or twitch.tv/Moxfire Gaming. I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much for watching the video, and just remember, don't do anything I wouldn't do.